Step 1, open bottle. Step 2, dump directly in toilet, because that's pretty much what's happening with the supplements that I'm about to list off. Things that are completely useless, or quite frankly, even worse, are detrimental. These are the worst supplements of the past year. Let's dive in. Every year, I like to sort of do this roundup where I look at the previous year's most popular supplements, and not necessarily as a brand, but just vitamins, supplements that people are talking about a lot, or that are getting, quite frankly, too much attention in the mainstream that shouldn't be. So we're gonna break them all down, and you're gonna kind of have an idea of what maybe you should take instead to give you some better context and why, right? I do want to make sure you hit that red subscribe button, and please do hit that bell icon as well. And after this video, I want you to check out my friends over at Hecka Good Food. They have these bars that are entirely low carb friendly, perfect for just about anyone, to be completely frank, sweetened with allulose, which has some huge advantages as a sweetener. But the cool thing is, these things are so delicious. Like this particular one is my favorite. It's the regular chocolate chip one, or the chocolate chunk. And the chunks within it, the chocolate, are actually like 1-inch chunks of chocolate. It is so unbelievably legit. Anyhow, there's a special link down below. If you are doing a low carb protocol or anything like that, you have to try these out. So they've also got like maple pecan flavor. They also have a blueberry flavor. They have a double chocolate. They have everything you could think of. So highly recommend you check them out. Special link down below in the description. Hecka Good Food bars. Amazing stuff. First supplement. Antioxidant mixtures. Okay, this is becoming a thing now. Now, we know that antioxidants are good, but really, to be frank with you, we should be getting antioxidants from like the whole food form. I think what the world gives us is probably the best, like green tea, coffee. Yeah, there's antioxidants in it. Don't not take it because there's antioxidants. They're all in there to support everything that goes with it. So what we've done is typical human fashion. If we've said, oh, well, if this is good, let's a concentrated form of it's going to be better. So a good example is going to be an antioxidant mixture like vitamin E with beta carotene. They concentrate this. And here's what we have to remember is our body is designed to be able to neutralize just the right amount of reactive oxygen species, of oxidative stress. If we start taking in so much in the way of antioxidants all the time, we sort of prohibit our body from doing it naturally, which can hurt us down the line. And decades of research had shown that antioxidants were sort of the pinnacle of aging. Like if we could control oxidative stress, we could potentially control the aging effect. Well, newer research starts to show that it's much more geared towards glucose, it's much more geared towards insulin, and the thing called telomeres. If you're in the world of aging, you know that that might have a bigger role. So when we look at these antioxidants like vitamin E, it gets a little bit sketchy. There was a study that was published in the journal, the American College of Cardiology, that found that there was no positive effect by taking vitamin E. No cardiovascularly positive effect. Like you weren't getting this antioxidant effect that was magically going to do things for you. And then you combine it with things like beta carotene, and you kind of just go further down that rabbit hole. In fact, they actually have found that higher amounts of vitamin E demonstrate negative effects. Now, what does that really mean? Well, for example, if someone is doing some fasting or something like that to try to elicit more of a longevity effect, it can inhibit that. Like vitamin E can slow down or stop what's called PPAR alpha. Now, I don't need to go into detail for the sake of this video. Point is you're kind of slowing down your body's own ability to fight off, well, oxidative stress. So avoid just those concentrated specific antioxidant compounds. Look at metabolic health instead and try to find the full well-rounded food. So if you're looking for like an antioxidant effect, I think the most powerful thing that you could probably consume is green tea, quite frankly, because it is well balanced and it works alongside the increase in metabolism that you have from the EGCG. I digress. The next one, multivitamins. All right, multivitamins, there's a lot of reasons why they should just go straight in the trash. 9 times out of 10, it's super low quality ingredients, super low quality vitamins, minerals. They're not in their good form. For example, like magnesium that's gonna be in it is gonna be probably like a magnesium oxide or some kind of that's just not gonna work really well, right? Additionally, the vitamins are lower quality, but the bigger piece of the equation here is it has opposing minerals and opposing vitamins that kind of do different things in the body. For example, calcium and magnesium compete for each other. They combat each other. Why would you want to take them together? So a lot of times what you're trying to get out of a multivitamin ends up completely getting canceled out and you end up excreting most of it. Long story short, they're just a waste of money. The U.S. Preventative Task Force took a look at a study that's published in the Annals of Internal Medicine, and they flat out said, look, there is no robust evidence that shows that multivitamins are going to be nutritious or provide any true value to you. They even came out and said that. And that's a big industry, quite frankly. So anyhow, those can go in the trash. Next up is going to be calcium. This has made my list for years. Okay, calcium scares me because it's not calcium that we need. We need calcium going to the right place. Okay, so a lot of times people will get recommended taking a calcium when we're getting plenty of calcium in our diet. Every bit of dairy is fortified with calcium. Almost all the stuff we consume is fortified with calcium these days. And calcium is what is called an excitatory component. So it triggers more negative things than it does positive things if it's in the wrong place. As a matter of fact, have you ever heard of coronary calcium scores, your artery calcium scores? Well, that's a very big piece. If you have calcium that builds up in your arteries, that can attribute to all kinds of calcification and kinds of issues that are not very good from a cardiovascular standpoint. What you need is more in the way of vitamin D and more in the way of vitamin K, because they work synergistically to get the calcium into the right place. The Annals of Internal Medicine also published a study that showed that people that consume 1,000 milligrams of calcium or more per day were at a significantly increased risk of coronary vascular disease. That's a big thing. We need to be paying attention to that. But if you're not someone that's really worried about the maybe cardiovascular effect, maybe you're a little bit younger and that you just haven't gotten to that point in your life, consider this. Calcium competes for magnesium. I'm just going to leave this here. Magnesium is calming and relaxing. Calcium is molecularly, it's like the opposite. So just let that sink in for a second. And they cancel each other out. Which one do you want more of, mag or calcium? This next one is really fun to pick on. Glutamine. And it's fun to pick on because I love seeing just like the muscle community and the bodybuilding community always trying to find the next best thing that's going to make them crazy huge. And I get it, okay? You're conducting experiments on yourself. But glutamine is just a weird world, okay? There was an interesting study published in 2019 that took a look at glutamine, and it found, taking a look at 5 different huge studies, okay, so big meta-analysis, they found that glutamine had no effect on lean mass whatsoever. And it also didn't have much of an effect on the immune cells. So typically people take glutamine because they think it's going to supply their cells with a specific kind of amino acids that's going to free up other amino acids to build muscle. And more specifically, a lot of people take glutamine because some immune cells can fuel directly on glutamine. So it's arguable that after a workout, when you're immunosuppressed, that if you take glutamine, you feed those immune cells, and that makes it so that you have less chance of potentially getting sick, right? Well, that makes sense, and I've seen it applied in some studies with like endurance work when you're really affecting the gut itself, because it's the gut immune cells that we're really focused on. But as far as the immune cells really utilizing glutamine, it doesn't do much, especially after just a regular casual, like, you know, fly-by-night workout, right? It doesn't really matter. Now, one of the things to consider is what we are actually looking for. What's the end goal? The end goal is to have more glutamine available. If you eat good quality protein, you're going to have the glutamine available. So what I typically recommend is, if this is of a concern to you and you're normally someone that would supplement glutamine, swap out your glutamine supplement for 3 grams of leucine along with your protein shake. Okay, the leucine is going to allow you to utilize the protein in the shake better to go to actually building muscle. What that's going to do is it's going to free up available glutamine to, in its bioavailable natural form, go to the immune cells that it needs to go to. Supplementing glutamine doesn't seem to feed those immune cells in the same fashion. This next one makes me laugh, and I don't want to sound like a smug jerk, but I see some really smart people making the mistake of using N-acetyltyrosine. Always looking for that leg up, and I get it, okay? I'm always looking for a way to also kind of improve my brain and that nootropic effect. Okay, tyrosine is a precursor to dopamine and noradrenaline, which could help you feel good. It could help you build up more dopamine, help you build some resiliency, help your brain work, and that's really cool. Like, I freaking love it. Okay, but N-acetyltyrosine is a perfect example of when we always try to go for more and more and more, and it ends up having a negative effect. The acetyl form of tyrosine is supposed to get into your brain and cross the blood-brain barrier easy. Okay, so any kind of acetyl form, acetylcholine, okay, acetyl coenzyme A, anything like that, like, it's all about getting into it, right? So this acetylized form of tyrosine is supposed to get into the brain. Well, the interesting thing is there's a study that demonstrated that when you took N-acetyltyrosine and even took it through a parenteral form, which is going directly into the bloodstream, you still excreted 35% of it out in the urine. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm probably not going to go and inject myself with a vitamin, so I'd probably take it orally. So then we have the oral degradation too. So we're probably looking at like 60+% of this compound getting completely degraded before we even utilize it. let alone what's going to actually cross through the blood-brain barrier and contribute to dopamine production and noradrenaline. So it's just a flat-out waste, and it's not the cheapest supplement either. Like, people take it, and people are putting it in energy drinks saying, oh, it's an ultimate nootropic, it's going to build dopamine and make you superhuman. Yeah, okay, it's going to make you super broke. The last one is iron, and it's made my list before too. Why iron? Why is it here? Like, Thomas, you're telling us people that are anemic that we shouldn't be taking our iron. Like, I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you. I'm just some dude on the internet. I can't tell you that the iron is going to be exactly what you need or don't need. But I will tell you that largely we don't have an iron deficiency issue with our diets or with almost anyone's like body, right? We have to remember that iron oxidizes. Iron, just like if you leave a dumbbell out in the rain with the oxygen, it's going to oxidize and turn rusty. Too much iron is not good. And when we see low levels of iron in the human body, it's usually because iron is getting pulled into an immune function or is getting lowered as a result of an inflammatory response. So usually it's fodder to start looking at something more important. Iron isn't necessarily the issue. We're probably getting it in. We also have to remember, is it coming in from its ferric state or ferrous state? What are they measuring? Okay. Now, magnesium and iron compete for one another. They compete for oxygen. So if we have a lot of iron and not a lot of magnesium, the iron is going to soak up all the oxygen and it's not going to get a chance to oxidize the magnesium, which means that we're left with a lot of this oxidized iron and oxidative stress in the body, and we're deficient in magnesium. I would largely say that magnesium is probably more important than iron. Oh, in the world of minerals, we should say they're all important. So if you have more magnesium and a little less iron, you're leaving more room for the magnesium to oxidize. Oxidized magnesium is not nearly as bad as oxidized iron, okay? So keep that in mind. And just a little bit of food for thought. I mean, take this or leave it, but women have a longer life expectancy than men. That's kind of a given. There's a lot of arguments out there that say that women live for a longer period of time because they lose a set amount of blood each month. Well, that would mean that they're losing some iron, right? A lot of times we say, oh, women are deficient in iron or they get anemic. No, not necessarily. They're actually putting themselves and regulating themselves where they should be. And again, it's not me saying it, it's just a lot of research that I've seen that says it, that maybe that's the reason. Now, I'm certainly not implying that you're going to live forever by keeping your iron levels low. The point is that oxidized iron is going to be oxidized stress in general, and our body has to clean up after it. So iron is not a supplement I would run out and grab. Okay, if you absolutely are sure that you need it, then that's one thing. Anyhow, as always, keep it locked in here on my channel, and I'll see you tomorrow.